The Hedong was not a beautiful ship. It was old, ugly, and held together by spare parts and hope. The hull had patches on top of patches. The engines made sounds that no engine should make. But it flew, and that was enough. Captain Park Gina stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the dirty window. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had been flying ships since she was 16. She had seen many things in those years. Most of them were not good. Humanity was a small species in a very large galaxy. Earth had discovered faster than light travel only 300 years ago. In that time, humans had spread to a few dozen colonies. But they were nothing compared to the great powers. The Valoran Empire ruled 63 star systems. They had been conquering worlds for 10,000 years. To them, humans were insects. Not worth noticing. Not worth crushing. Gina liked it that way. Being ignored meant being left alone. And being left alone meant she could do her work. The Hedong was a smuggling ship. Not the dangerous kind. Gina and her crew moved medical supplies to colonies that could not afford them. They brought food to settlements that the big trading companies had forgotten. It was illegal work, but it was good work. It helped people. Her crew was small, 17 people in total. They were not soldiers or heroes. They were just people trying to survive. Kang Do-hyun was her chief engineer. He was a thin man with grease permanently under his fingernails. He could fix anything. Once, when the main engine exploded during a jump, he rebuilt it using parts from the kitchen. The ship should have died that day. Do-hyun refused to let it. Yoon-ha was the navigation officer. She was young, only 23, with a round face and quick smile. But when she sat at her console, something changed. She could feel hyperspace in a way others could not. She found routes that computers said were impossible. She had saved the crew many times with her strange gift. Big Taiwu was the security chief. He was older than Gina, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. He had been a soldier once, back when humanity tried to fight the Valarans. That war lasted 2 weeks. Humanity lost badly. Taiwu never talked about what he saw. But sometimes, late at night, Gina heard him walking the corridors alone. On this day, they were flying through the outer reaches. It was a quiet part of space, far from the Empire's center. They were carrying antibiotics to a mining colony. Simple work. Easy money. Then Hannah looked up from her console. Her face was pale. "Captain," she said, "I am picking up a distress signal." Gina walked over to look at the screen. The signal was weak, broken. It came from a planet called Mirathi Prime. "That is a Mirathi world," said Do-hyun. He had come up from the engine room. What happened? The Mirathi were a peaceful species. They looked like large insects with 4 arms and gentle eyes. They were scholars and artists. They had no military, no weapons. They believed in harmony with all living things. They had also refused to join the Valoran Empire. Gina felt something cold in her stomach. "Take us there," she said. The jump took 3 hours. When they arrived, Hana made a small sound. Do-hyun cursed under his breath. Taiwu simply stared, his old eyes seeing something he had seen before. Marathi Prime was burning. The cities were gone. Where millions of beings had lived, there was only ash and glass. The Valorans had used plasma bombardment. They had burned the entire planet down to the rock. Nothing could survive that kind of attack. 3 million Marathi had lived on this world. Now there were none. "Why?" Hana whispered. Her hands were shaking. They were not a threat. They had no weapons. Why would anyone do this? "Because they said no," Taiwu answered. His voice was flat, dead. The Empire asked them to submit. They refused. This is what happens when you refuse. Gina could not speak. She had seen cruelty before. The galaxy was full of it. But this was something different. This was extinction. This was erasing a people from existence just because they wanted to be free. The distress signal still beeped on Hannah's console. It was coming from the surface. "There is a survivor," Hannah said. She sounded surprised. "One life sign. Very weak." Gina did not hesitate. "Taiwu, you are with me. We are going down." They took a small shuttle to the surface. The air was full of smoke and dust. The ground was still hot in places. They had to walk carefully to avoid the worst of it. The survivor was in the ruins of what had been a temple. Gina found him under a collapsed wall, barely alive. He was old, even by Marathi standards. His shell was cracked, and his breathing was shallow. "Human," he said when he saw her. His voice was like dry leaves. "I did not expect humans." "Save your strength," Gina said. She tried to lift him, but he stopped her with one of his 4 hands. "No," he said. "I am dying. There is no changing that. But I have something for you. Something the Empire wants very much." He pressed something into her hand. It was a small crystal, glowing faintly with inner light. "Coordinates," he said, "to a place called the Architect's Vault. The Valarns have been searching for it for centuries. They killed my people because they thought we knew where it was. They were right. We did know. We kept the secret for 1,000 generations." Gina looked at the crystal. "Why give it to me?" The old Marathi made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Because you came. When you saw our signal, you came. You did not have to. You could have run. You could have pretended you saw nothing. But you came anyway. That tells me what kind of person you are." His eyes were closing now. He had very little time left. "The architects were a great species," he whispered. "They disappeared 1,000,000 years ago. But they left things behind. Powerful things. The Empire must never have them. Promise me, human. Promise me you will keep them safe." Gina looked at this dying being. He was the last of his kind. 3,000,000 voices, silenced forever. A whole culture, a whole history, gone in one day. And here, at the end, he was thinking about the future. He was thinking about others. "I promise," she said. The Marathi elder smiled. Then he stopped breathing. Gina and Taiwu sat with him for a long moment. There was nothing else to do. No other survivors to find. No one to tell. Just silence and ash and the weight of what had happened. When they returned to the ship, Gina called a meeting. She showed the crew the crystal. She told them what the elder had said. "This is dangerous," Do-Yun said. "The Empire will kill us for this." "They will kill us anyway," Taiwu replied. "They kill everyone eventually." Hana looked at Gina. "What do you want to do, Captain?" Gina thought about the burning planet below them. She thought about the elder's last words. She thought about all the species the Empire had crushed over 10,000 years. Then she thought about something her grandmother had told her when she was young. "When you see evil," the old woman had said, "you have 2 choices. You can look away and stay safe. Or you can stand up and maybe die. But if everyone looks away, evil wins forever." Gina put the crystal in her pocket. "We go to the vault," she said. "And whatever we find there, we use it to make sure what happened here never happens again." The crew did not argue. They did not ask questions. They simply went to their stations and prepared for the jump. Behind them, Marathi Prime continued to burn. But ahead of them, somewhere in the darkness of space, something was waiting. Something that would change everything. The Headnon turned and flew into the stars. The Valarum patrol ships found them within 6 hours. Gina was on the bridge when Hannah called out the warning. 3 ships had just appeared on the long-range sensors. They were fast, heavily armed, and heading directly for the head-on. "They know," Dahyun said. He had come running from the engine room. "Somehow they know we were at Mirathi Prime." "It does not matter how they know," Taiwu said. He was already checking the weapons console. The head-on had 2 small guns meant for asteroids. Against Valoran warships, they were useless. What matters is what we do now. Gina watched the enemy ships grow closer on the screen. Each one was 10 times the size of her vessel. Each one had enough firepower to destroy a small moon. There were 3 of them. "Hannah," she said calmly, "how far to the coordinates?" 4 hours at maximum speed," Hannah replied. "But Captain, we cannot outrun them. They are faster than us. Them, we do not outrun them. We outsmart them." Gina turned to her engineer. "Dohyun, I need more speed." Dohyun shook his head. "The engines are already at maximum. If I push them harder, they will explode. What if we cut power to everything else? Life support, weapons, shields, gravity, everything. Just engines and navigation." The engineer stared at her. "That is insane. We would have maybe 30 minutes of air. And if anything goes wrong, if we do not try, we die anyway," Gina said. "How much speed would it give us?" Dohyun was quiet for a moment, calculating in his head. "Maybe 20% more. It might be enough to reach the coordinates." "But Captain, the route goes through the Crimson Nebula. No one flies through there. The gravity pockets are too dangerous." Hannah looked up. "I can do it." Everyone turned to look at the young navigator. Her face was pale but determined. "I have studied the nebula," she said. "I know the patterns. I think I can find a path through." "You think?" Dohyun asked. "I feel it," Hannah said. "I cannot explain it better than that. But I believe I can do it." Gina made her decision. "Do it. Everyone, seal your suits. We are cutting all power in 2 minutes." The crew moved fast. They had trained for emergencies. Within minutes, everyone was in their pressure suits, strapped to their stations. The lights went out. The gravity failed. The familiar hum of the ship's systems went silent. In the darkness, only the engines still ran. The head-on shot forward like a bullet. Behind them, the Valoran ships followed. Their commander was confused. No captain would be stupid enough to fly into the Crimson Nebula. It was suicide. But the human ship was heading straight for it. He ordered his fleet to follow. He would not let these insects escape. The nebula was beautiful and terrible. Great clouds of red and orange gas stretched across space like the fingers of a giant. Inside those clouds, gravity did strange things. Pockets of intense force appeared and disappeared without warning. Ships that entered rarely came out. Hannah sat at her console, her eyes closed. She was not looking at the instruments. She was feeling the space around her, sensing the movements of mass and energy that made up the nebula's deadly maze. "Turn left 30 degrees, she said softly. The pilot obeyed. A moment later, a gravity pocket formed exactly where they had been. If they had stayed on course, they would have been crushed. Down 20 degrees. Now hard right. The head-on twisted and turned through the nebula like a fish swimming through coral. Behind them, the Valoran ships tried to follow. The first one hit a gravity well and was torn apart. The second managed to avoid the same fate, but lost its main engine to the stress. It drifted helplessly, unable to pursue. The third ship, the largest, was more careful. Its captain was smart. He followed the exact path the head-on had taken, staying in its wake. He was getting closer. "He is still behind us," Taiwu reported. His voice was strained. The air in his suit was getting thin. They had maybe 10 minutes left. Gina watched the enemy ship on the screen. It was only a few minutes away from weapons range. Once it could fire, they were dead. "Hannah," she said. "How much longer?" "2 minutes to the edge of the nebula," Hannah replied. Her voice was dreamy, distant. She was deep in her trance. 1 minute to the coordinates. 1 minute. The Valoran ship would catch them before that. Gina thought about her options. There were not many. Running would not work. Fighting would not work. Surrendering meant death. Then she had an idea. It was crazy. It might not work, but it was all she had. "Darling," she said, "can you restart the gravity for just 1 second? Just a pulse?" The engineer understood immediately what she was thinking. "That is dangerous. The pulse could attract the gravity pocket. I am counting on it." Dahin smiled in the darkness. "I always wanted to try something like this." He worked fast, connecting wires by feel in the dark. "Ready," he said. "On your command." Gina watched the Valoran ship. It was almost in range. Almost close enough to fire. "Now," she said. Dahin triggered the gravity pulse. It was small, just a flicker. But in the nebula, it was enough. A massive gravity pocket formed directly between the heading and the Valoran ship. The Valoran captain tried to turn, but it was too late. His ship was pulled into the gravity well. Metal screamed. Systems failed. The great warship folded in on itself like paper. Then they were through. The head-on burst out of the nebula and into clear space. Behind them, silence. All 3 Valoran ships were gone. "Everyone breathe," Gina ordered. "Do-Yun, get us some air." The systems came back on one by one. Lights, gravity, life support. The crew pulled off their helmets and gasped for breath. They were alive. Against all odds, they were alive. "Captain," Hannah said. She was pointing at the view screen. Look, ahead of them was a structure. It was enormous, bigger than any space station Gina had ever seen. It was made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light. It was shaped like no building any known species had ever made. It had been floating here, hidden in the shadow of the nebula, for 1,000,000 years. The architect's vault. They dug carefully, unsure what they would find. The inside of the vault was dark and silent. Dust covered everything. But as they walked through the corridors, lights began to turn on. The vault was waking up. They found a great chamber at the center. Inside were wonders beyond imagination. Weapons that could bend space. Shields that existed in multiple dimensions. Engine designs that made their best technology look like children's toys. And in the middle of the chamber, a ship. It was sleek and beautiful, untouched by time. A voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Scanning biological entities. Species identification in progress. The crew stood still. Gina's hand moved toward her gun, but she stopped herself. What good would a gun do against something like this? Species identified. Human. Origin. Planet Earth. Classification. Young species. Limited technological development. The voice paused. Beginning compatibility assessment. Lights swept over them. Gina felt a tingling sensation, like something was looking inside her mind. Previous assessments. 4,762 species tested over 1,000,000 years. All rejected. Required traits not found. The voice seemed to change. It sounded almost curious now. Human species assessment. Creativity index, exceptional. Adaptability index, exceptional. Persistence under adverse conditions, exceptional. Capacity for irrational hope, unprecedented. Another pause. Assessment complete. Compatibility confirmed. Access granted. The chamber lit up fully. Consoles came to life. Information began to flow across screens in languages that slowly changed to ones they could read. Dao-Yun was staring at the ship. "Captain, do you understand what this means? We could take that ship." "We could—" "No," Gina said. She was thinking fast. "The ship is too obvious. The moment we fly it, every power in the galaxy will come for us. But the knowledge, the technology, we can use that differently." She walked to a console. "Can this information be transferred to another vessel?" "Affirmative," the vault answered. "Partial transfer is possible. Full transfer would require compatible systems. Then give us what our ship can hold. Weapons, shields, engines. Whatever will make us stronger." The transfer took 2 hours. While they waited, the vault began to shake. The Valorans had not given up. They had sent more ships. Sensors showed a dozen vessels approaching. "We need to go," Taiwu said. The transfer completed just as the first Valoran ships entered the system. The crew ran back to the head-on. Behind them, the vault began to collapse, destroying itself rather than falling into enemy hands. The head-on flew out of the dying structure just as it exploded. The blast wave pushed them forward, past the Valoran ships, into open space. They jumped to hyperspace before anyone could follow. In the quiet of the journey, Gina looked at her ship's new systems. The head-on was still old and ugly on the outside, but inside it had changed. It now had weapons that could fight warships, shields that could stop bombardment, engines that could outrun anything. One small ship, one crew of 17, and the knowledge of a species 1,000,000 years more advanced than anyone alive. Gina smiled. For the first time in a long time, she felt something strange. She felt hope. The message from the Valoran Empire reached Earth 3 days later. It was broadcast on every channel, sent to every human colony, delivered to every ship in human space. Emperor Vorath himself spoke the words. "Humanity has 72 hours to surrender the technology stolen from the Architect's Vault. You will give us the location of your ship called Head-On. You will give us its captain and crew. If you do not comply, we will burn your homeworld. We will destroy every colony you have built. We will erase your species from the galaxy. You have 72 hours. Do not test our patience." Earth's government panicked. They had no military worth mentioning. Their few defense ships were ancient and weak. Against the Valoran Empire, they had no chance. The leaders met in emergency sessions, arguing about what to do. Some said they should hunt down the head-on themselves and hand over the crew. Others said they should negotiate, offer everything they had for mercy. A few brave souls said they should fight, but even they knew it was hopeless. Gina heard the Emperor's message while hiding in an asteroid field near the outer colonies. She listened to it 3 times. Then she called her crew together. "You all heard that," she said. "The Empire wants us. If we surrender, maybe they will leave Earth alone. Maybe they will show mercy." Taiwu laughed bitterly. "You saw what they did to Mirithi Prime. They do not know the meaning of mercy." "He is right," Dao-Yun said. "Even if we give ourselves up, they will still attack Earth. They want to make an example. They want to show the galaxy what happens when you defy them." Hannah was quiet. She was looking out the window at the stars. "Captain," she finally said, "what do you want to do?" Gina had been thinking about this for 3 days. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the burning surface of Mirithi Prime. She saw the old elder dying in the ruins of his temple. She heard his last words, "Promise me, human." She had made a promise. Now she had to decide what that promise meant. "The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years, she said slowly. "In that time, they have destroyed hundreds of species. They have enslaved thousands of worlds. They do this because no one stops them. No one can stop them. They are too powerful. She looked at her crew. They were watching her, waiting. But what if that is not true? What if they are not as powerful as they believe? What if the only reason they have ruled so long is because everyone is too afraid to fight back? Do-hyun frowned. Captain, what are you saying? I am saying that we have something no one else has. We have architect technology. We have a ship that can fight their warships. We have proven that already in the nebula. Gina's voice grew stronger. I am saying that maybe, for the first time in 10,000 years, someone can stand up to them. And maybe, if we do, others will find the courage to stand up too. Taiwu understood first. His scarred face showed something like wonder. You want to fight them. Not just escape. Not just hide. You want to actually fight the Valoran Empire. I want to show the galaxy that they can be beaten, Gina said. I want every enslaved species, every crushed world, every being living under their boot to see that the Empire can bleed. That is worth more than our lives. That is worth more than anything. The crew was silent. This was madness. Everyone knew it was madness. One ship against an empire. 17 people against billions. The odds were not just bad. They were impossible. Hannah spoke first. I am with you, Captain. Then Do-hyun. Someone has to do something crazy. Might as well be us. Then Taiwu. I have been waiting 30 years for a chance like this. I am not running now. One by one, every member of the crew agreed. They knew they would probably die. They did not care. Some things were bigger than survival. Gina sat down at the communications console. Then let us give the galaxy something to remember. She began recording. The message was broadcast 6 hours later. It went out on every frequency, in every language, to every corner of known space. It reached Valoran worlds and slave colonies. It reached free traders and hidden rebels. It reached Earth, where billions watched in shock. It reached the Emperor's palace, where Varth listened with growing rage. This is what it said. My name is Park Gina. I am a human. I am the captain of the ship Hedong. The Emperor has demanded that we surrender. He has threatened to destroy our world if we do not obey. We will not obey. The Valoran Empire has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. In that time, they have murdered billions. They have enslaved entire species. They have burned worlds for the crime of wanting freedom. 3 days ago, I watched them kill every living being on Merathi Prime. 3 million people, gone in one afternoon. Their only crime was saying no. The Empire believes that strength is the only law. They believe that the powerful have the right to do whatever they want to the weak. They believe that fear is the same as respect, and that cruelty is the same as authority. They are wrong. We are 17 people on one ship. We are not an army. We are not a fleet. We are just ordinary beings who have decided that enough is enough. We have seen too much suffering. We have buried too many dead. We have watched too many lights go out in the darkness. Today, we draw a line. To the Emperor and his empire, we are coming for you. Not because we think we will win. Not because we want glory or fame. We are coming because someone has to. Because if no one ever stands up to evil, evil wins forever. Because the galaxy deserves better than 10,000 years of fear. To every species living under the Empire's shadow, watch what happens next. Watch carefully. The Empire wants you to believe they are invincible. They want you to believe that resistance is futile. They have lied to you. They can be hurt. They can be beaten. And if one small ship with 17 humans can fight them, imagine what you could do together. We remember the Merathi. We remember every species the Empire has erased. We carry their memory with us into battle. And we make this promise. As long as one of us is alive, the fight continues. The Empire has given us 72 hours. We do not need that long. We will see you soon. The message ended. Across the galaxy, there was silence. Then, slowly, something began to change. On a dozen slave worlds, the message was copied and shared in secret. Beings whispered it to each other in the dark. They talked about the crazy humans who had decided to fight back. In rebel hideouts, resistance leaders watched the message again and again. They began to make plans. For years, they had thought they were alone. Now they knew they were not. Even on the lone worlds, some citizens felt doubt for the first time. The Empire had always told them they were the righteous ones, the bringers of order. But the humans' words made them wonder. Emperor Vorath did not wonder. He was furious beyond measure. He had ruled for 3 centuries. No one had ever defied him so openly. No one had ever dared. He called his admirals together. "I want that ship destroyed," he said. "Send everything we have. I want every human on that vessel dead. And I want the galaxy to watch them die." The Emperor's personal fleet was assembled. 400 warships, the finest in the Empire. Each one was a masterpiece of destruction, crewed by the best soldiers in known space. They were more than enough to conquer a planet. They were being sent to destroy one ship. Admiral Korvik, the Emperor's eldest son, commanded the fleet. He was young for a Valoran commander, only 200 years old. But he was ruthless and skilled. He had never lost a battle. "Find them," Korvik ordered. "Find them and end this." The fleet spread out across human space, hunting. They searched every asteroid field, every hidden station, every dark corner where a ship might hide. They were confident. They were patient. They did not understand what they were looking for. The Hedong was not hiding. Part Gina had no intention of running anymore. She had made her declaration. Now she would keep her promise. She chose the battlefield carefully. Karath Station was a major trading hub, a neutral zone where ships from many species came to do business. Thousands of vessels passed through every day. Millions of beings watched its feeds. If she was going to fight, she wanted witnesses. The Hedong dropped out of hyperspace near Karath Station on the morning of the 3rd day. Within hours, the Valoran fleet arrived. 400 ships surrounded one small vessel. It should have been the shortest battle in history. Gina stood on her bridge and looked at the wall of enemy ships. Her crew was at their stations. They were calm. They were ready. "Open a channel," she said. "I want them to hear this." Hannah opened the channel. Every ship in the system could hear. "Admiral Korvik," Gina said. "I believe you are looking for me." Korvik's face appeared on the screen. He was smiling. "Captain Gina, you have caused us a great deal of trouble. But now it ends. Surrender, and I will make your death quick." Gina smiled back. "I have a better idea. Turn around and go home. Tell your father that humanity says no." The Admiral laughed. "You are surrounded by 400 warships. You have one old freighter. What exactly do you think you can do?" Gina looked at her crew. Dohim gave her a thumbs up from the engine room. Hannah nodded at her console. Taiwu cracked his knuckles. She turned back to the screen. "Come closer," she said, "and find out." The first Valoran ship fired at exactly noon station time. It was a cruiser called the Dominion, one of the finest vessels in the Imperial fleet. Its captain had served for 100 years. He had destroyed rebels and pirates across a dozen systems. He aimed at the small human ship with complete confidence. The shot never arrived. The Hedong's new shields bent space around them. The plasma blast curved away, missing by a wide margin. Before the Dominion's captain could understand what had happened, Gina gave her first order. Dohan, light them up. The architect weapons fired. They did not shoot projectiles or energy beams like normal guns. Instead, they created points of unstable space inside the enemy ship. One moment, the Dominion was whole. The next moment, pieces of it existed in different places at the same time. The ship tore itself apart from the inside. The entire exchange took 4 seconds. Admiral Korvik watched from his flagship, the Imperial Fury. His confidence did not waver. One lucky shot meant nothing. He had 399 ships left. All vessels, attack pattern Delta, he commanded. Surround and destroy. The Valoran fleet moved with practiced precision. They had fought together for decades. Each captain knew exactly where to be, exactly when to fire. 100 ships formed a sphere around the head-on, cutting off all escape. They fired together. The space around the human ship turned white with energy. When the light cleared, the head-on was still there. Its shields held, absorbing the combined firepower of 100 warships. On the bridge, Gina felt the ship shudder but did not worry. The architect's shields were holding. "Ha," she said. Pattern 7. Hana's fingers danced across her console. The head-on moved in ways that should have been impossible. It did not just fly through space. It seemed to skip, appearing in one place and then another without crossing the distance between. The Valoran targeting systems could not keep up. Taiwu, pick your targets. The old soldier had been waiting for this moment for 30 years. He did not rush. He was calm, patient, like a hunter. He selected the ships that were most dangerous, the ones with the best weapons, the most experienced crews. Then he fired. Each shot from the architect weapons destroyed a ship. There was no defense against them. The Valoran shields, the finest in the galaxy, meant nothing. When the weapons hit, ships simply stopped existing. 12 ships died in the first minute. Admiral Korvik began to feel something he had never felt before: doubt. His fleet was the pride of the Empire. They had conquered worlds, crushed rebellions, destroyed species. Now they were being killed by one vessel. "Change tactics," he ordered. "Spread formation. Do not give them easy targets." The fleet dispersed. Ships flew in random patterns, trying to be unpredictable. They fired from all directions, hoping to overwhelm the human ship through sheer volume. Gina had expected this. "Done. Time for the special trick." In the engine room, Kang Do-hyun grinned. He had been modifying the architect technology since they left the vault, finding new ways to use it. The original designers had been geniuses, but they thought in straight lines. Humans did not. He activated his modification. The head-on shields inverted. Instead of blocking incoming fire, they reflected it. Plasma blasts bounced back at the ships that fired them. Energy beams returned to their sources. The Valoran fleet began destroying itself. 20 ships died to their own weapons before Korvik ordered a ceasefire. "What is this?" He screamed at his officers. "How is this possible?" No one had an answer. Nothing in their training prepared them for this. The Empire had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. They knew every tactic, every strategy, every trick. But they had never faced an enemy like this. The battle continued. Gina did not sit still. She knew that eventually, even architect shields could fail. She had to stay moving, stay unpredictable. She had to be everywhere and nowhere. "Hannah, take us through their formation. Show them what a human can do." The head-on dove into the middle of the Valoran fleet. It was suicide by any normal measure. But Hannah was not a normal pilot. She felt the flow of battle like music. She danced between the enemy ships, so close that they could not fire without hitting each other. "Fire at them!" Korvac screamed. "I do not care about losses. Destroy that ship." The Valoran captains tried to obey. They fired blindly, desperately. They hit the head-on twice, damaging its outer hull. But they hit their own ships a dozen times. Explosions filled the battlefield as allied vessels destroyed each other. Gina used the chaos. She targeted the command ships, the ones with the best communications equipment. Without coordination, the fleet would become a mob. One by one, she destroyed them. 6 minutes into the battle, the Valoran fleet had lost 100 ships. The remaining 300 were scattered, confused, firing at shadows. They had never experienced defeat like this. They did not know how to respond. On Karath Station, millions watched the battle in stunned silence. The feed was being broadcast across the galaxy. On slave worlds and free worlds alike, beings saw something they had never thought possible. The Valoran Empire was losing. Korvac made his final mistake. Pride overcame wisdom. He ordered his flagship forward. "If I must kill these humans myself, so be it," he declared. "All power to weapons. Target that ship." The Imperial Fury was the largest vessel in the fleet. It had enough firepower to destroy a small planet. It was Korvac's personal ship, equipped with every advantage the Empire could provide. It did not matter. Gina saw the flagship approaching. She understood immediately what Korvac was thinking. He wanted personal glory. He wanted to be the one who killed the rebels. His ego was bigger than his wisdom. "Taiwu," she said, "I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. We are going to take their prince." Taiwu smiled. "I was hoping you would say that." The head-on's weapons fired in precise patterns. They did not aim for the reactor or the life support. They targeted the engines, the weapons, the shield generators. Each shot took something away from the flagship, slowly crippling it without killing the crew. The Imperial Fury drifted, powerless. Its weapons were gone. Its engines were dead. It could do nothing but watch as the small human ship approached. "Open a channel," Gina commanded. Korvac's face appeared on the screen. The arrogance was gone now. He looked afraid. "Admiral," Gina said, "I am going to board your ship. You can surrender, or you can die. I do not care which. But I am coming either way." "You cannot do this," Korvac said. "I am a prince of the Empire. My father will destroy your entire species." "Your father can try," Gina replied. "But first, he will have to go through me." The boarding took 10 minutes. Taiwu led the team personally. He had not fought in 30 years, but his body remembered. The Valoran guards were good, but they were not prepared for an enemy who was not afraid to die. Taiwu found Korvac on the bridge, surrounded by his officers. The prince tried to fight. It did not last long. When it was over, the head-on pulled away from the crippled flagship. Behind them, the remains of the Valoran fleet began to retreat. They had lost 371 ships. The survivors were too damaged, too demoralized to continue. The Battle of Karath Station lasted 11 minutes. It changed the galaxy forever. On her bridge, Gina looked at the destruction around her. Her ship was damaged. 3 of her crew were wounded, though none were dead. They had done the impossible. They had beaten a fleet 400 times their size. "Captain," Hana said quietly, "the station is broadcasting the battle footage across all channels." Everyone saw what happened. Gina nodded. That was the point. It was never just about winning a battle. It was about showing the galaxy that victory was possible. She opened a channel to Karath Station and every ship that was listening. "My name is Park Gina," she said. "1 hour ago, the Valoran Empire sent 400 warships to destroy us. They wanted to make an example of humanity. They wanted to show the galaxy what happens when someone defies them. She paused, looking at the wreckage of the Imperial fleet. Today, the galaxy saw something different. Today, you saw that the Empire can be defeated. Not by a great fleet. Not by a powerful nation. By 17 people who refuse to be afraid. If we can do this, what could you do? What could all of us do together? She let the question hang in the silence. The war is not over. The Emperor still sits on his throne. But today, his empire cracked. And cracks have a way of spreading. To every being listening, the fight has begun. The choice is yours. Will you join us? She ended the transmission. In the quiet that followed, Dayun's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we need to repair the ship. The shields are barely holding. Gina smiled tiredly. Find us a safe place to hide, Hana. We have more work to do. The head-on turned and flew into the darkness. Behind them, the galaxy was waking up. The impossible had happened, and nothing would ever be the same. Emperor Vorath received news of the Battle of Karath Station while sitting on his throne. He listened in silence as his advisors described what had happened. 371 ships destroyed. His son captured. His finest fleet scattered like frightened animals. When they finished, he did not speak for a long time. His advisors waited, terrified. Vorath had ruled for 3 centuries. He had killed billions. He had never experienced failure like this. Finally, he stood. Gather every ship we have, he said. His voice was cold and empty. Every warship, every transport, every vessel that can carry a weapon. We are going to Earth. If humanity will not give me their heroes, I will take their world instead. The Valoran Empire had thousands of warships spread across 63 star systems. It took 2 weeks to gather them all. When they were assembled, 1,000 ships hung in space like a wall of death. It was the largest fleet in galactic history. Vorath led them personally. He would not make the same mistake his son had made. He would not underestimate these humans again. He would crush their homeworld with overwhelming force. And then he would hunt down every human in the galaxy. The fleet jumped toward Earth. Gina learned of the Emperor's plan from her network of spies and allies. In the weeks since Karath Station, everything had changed. Her message had spread across the galaxy. Slave species that had been silent for centuries began to rebel. Resistance cells that had hidden for generations came out of the shadows. Even some Valoran officers, disgusted by their empire's cruelty, defected. Ships came to find the head-on. Old freighters, stolen military vessels, anything that could fly and fight. Their crews were Marathi survivors, escaped slaves, rebels, dreamers. They came because they had seen what one ship could do. They wanted to be part of something bigger. When Gina counted her fleet, she had 300 ships. It was not much against 1,000, but it was more than she ever expected. She looked at the mixed crews, the patchwork vessels, the beings from 100 different species. They had nothing in common except hope. She gathered her captains in a crowded cargo bay. The Emperor is coming, she told them. He's bringing everything he has. 1,000 ships against 300. Those are not good odds. She saw fear in some faces, determination in others. No one left. But I have learned something in these past weeks. The Empire is not as strong as it looks. It is built on fear, and fear is a weak foundation. Their soldiers fight because they are afraid to disobey. We fight because we believe in something. That makes all the difference. She looked at Taiwu, standing in the crowd. At Doyen, who had barely slept in days while upgrading their ally ships. At Hannah, who had trained dozens of new pilots. We did not start this war, Gina said. We do not ask for it, but it is here now, and we are the ones who must finish it. Tomorrow, we fight for Earth. We fight for every species the Empire has crushed. We fight for a future where beings can live free. She raised her fist. And we will win. Not because we are the strongest. Not because we have the most ships. We will win because we are not afraid to die for something that matters. The Empire has forgotten what that means. Tomorrow, we remind them. The cargo bay erupted in cheers. The sound was deafening. Beautiful. Gina felt tears in her eyes, though she did not let them fall. The Battle of Seoul began at dawn on Earth, though in space there was no dawn or dusk. The Valoran fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. They advanced in perfect formation, a moving wall of destruction. Gina's fleet waited near Mars. They looked small and fragile compared to the enemy armada. Earth hung in the distance behind them, blue and green and precious. Emperor Varath broadcast his final message. Humanity, your protectors have come to die in front of you. Watch carefully. After I destroy them, I will destroy your world. Then I will find every human colony, every human ship, every human being, and I will end your species forever. This is the price of defiance. Gina did not respond. Words were over. Only action remained. The battle began. It was chaos from the first moment. The rebel fleet did not fight in formation like the Valorans expected. They fought in small groups, hitting and running, using asteroids and debris for cover. Gina had trained them in guerrilla tactics, the same tactics humans had used in wars for thousands of years. The Valoran commanders were confused. Their doctrine assumed enemies would fight in straight lines, would follow predictable patterns. These rebels fought like water, flowing around obstacles, finding cracks in their defense. Gina led the head-on straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Where she went, destruction followed. The architect weapons were devastating, but she had also learned to fight smarter. She targeted supply ships, command vessels, communication relays. She did not try to destroy the entire fleet. She tried to blind it, confuse it, break its coordination. The battle lasted 3 days. On the first day, the rebels lost 50 ships, but the Empire lost 200. The Valoran commanders began to doubt their orders. On the second day, something remarkable happened. More ships arrived to join the rebels. They came from everywhere, from all corners of the galaxy. Some were military vessels that had defected. Others were civilian ships armed with whatever they could find. They had seen the battle broadcasts. They had seen that the Empire could be fought. And they had decided to fight. By the end of the second day, the rebel fleet had grown to 500 ships. The Empire had lost 400. On the third day, Emperor Varath made his move. He was not stupid. He could see the battle turning against him. He decided to end it personally. The Imperial flagship, the Eternal Throne, advanced toward the head-on. It was the largest ship ever built, a mobile palace armed with weapons that could crack planets. Varath intended to kill Gina himself, to show the galaxy that the Emperor still held power. "He is coming for us," Hana reported. Her voice was steady despite the danger. Gina watched the massive ship approach. "Good. It is time to finish this." "Captain," Dohyun said from the engine room, "our shields are failing. We have taken too much damage. One more hit and we are done. Then we do not get hit." Gina turned to her crew. "We are boarding that ship." They thought she was crazy. She was. But they followed her anyway. The head-on made one final charge. It flew straight at the Eternal Throne, dodging fire, taking hits. When they were close enough, they launched every shuttle they had. The boarding teams landed on the flagship's hull and cut their way inside. Taiwu led one team. Gina led another. They fought through corridors filled with guards, through halls built for an emperor, Toward the throne room at the ship's heart, Gina lost count of how many Valorans she killed. Her armor was cracked, her gun nearly empty. Blood ran down her face from a wound she did not remember getting. But she kept moving. She had not come this far to stop now. The throne room doors were massive, covered in gold and precious stones. Taiwu blew them open with explosives. Emperor Varath waited inside. He was ancient, older than any being Gina had ever seen. His scales were silver with age, his eyes like black pits. He sat on his throne as if he had all the time in the world. "So this is what humanity sends against me," he said. "A bleeding woman with a broken gun. I expected more." Gina raised her weapon. "I expected less. You look old, Varath. Old and tired." The Emperor stood. He was taller than she expected, towering over her. "I have ruled for 3 centuries. I have crushed 1,000 rebellions. You are nothing new. Every generation produces beings who think they can change the galaxy. They all fail. You will fail too." "Maybe," Gina said. "But I will not fail alone." She fired. The shot was not enough to kill him. Varath was wearing armor under his robes, ancient technology that stopped her blast. He laughed and raised his own weapon. But Gina had not expected to kill him with a gun. She threw herself at him, grabbing his arm, twisting the weapon away. They fought hand to hand, Emperor and Captain. He was stronger than her, but she was faster, more desperate. She had nothing left to lose. Taiwu and the others burst in. They saw their captain fighting the most powerful being in the galaxy. They raised their weapons, but the two were too close. They could not fire without hitting Gina. The fight lasted 2 minutes. It felt like hours. Varath threw Gina across the room. She hit the wall hard, felt bones crack. But she got up again. "Why?" Varath demanded. He was bleeding now too. "Why will you not die?" Gina laughed through bloody teeth. "Because humans are stubborn. We do not know when to quit. That is our gift, Varath. That is why you lose." She charged one more time. He caught her by the throat, lifting her off the ground. His grip was crushing. "Your species dies with you," he said. "No," Gina whispered. "Yours does." Behind Varath, Taiwu had found an angle. One shot, perfectly placed, through the gap in the Emperor's armor. Varath's eyes went wide. His grip loosened. He fell. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Gina stood over the Emperor's body. "It is over," she said. "Tell your fleet to surrender." The message went out. Emperor Varath is dead. The war is over. Across the battlefield, the Loran ships began to power down. Some fled. Most surrendered. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years ended in a single afternoon. Gina walked back to her ship. She was barely conscious, held up by Taiwu and Hannah. Do-Hyun met them at the airlock, tears running down his face. "We did it," he said. "We actually did it." Gina looked out at Earth, safe and whole beneath them. She looked at her crew, her friends, her family. She looked at the fleet of rebel survivors, dreamers who had come from across the galaxy to fight for something they believed in. "No," she said softly. "We all did it, together." She closed her eyes and let herself rest. 50 years later, a monument stood on the rebuilt Marathi homeworld. It showed a small, ugly ship flying toward a wall of enemies. Below it, an inscription in 100 languages told the story of one captain, one crew, and one impossible war. Part Gina lived to see the Galactic Cooperative formed, a union of free species built on the ashes of empire. She never called herself a hero. When asked about the war, she always said the same thing. "We were just stubborn. That is all. Humans are stubborn. We do not know when to quit." The Valorans thought That was weakness. They learned otherwise. She died at 91, surrounded by her crew. All of them had survived the war. All of them stayed close until the end. The headung was retired to a museum where children of 100 species came to see it. One ship, 17 humans, and a galaxy that never forgot. Some say that stubbornness is a flaw. Some say that standing up when you should stay down is foolish. Some say that one person can never change anything. Those people never met Park Gina, and the galaxy was better for it.